I'm going to talk to you about Lisa and Dwayne, or as I call them, two cheeks from the same arse. The unfortunate victim in this case is precious baby Lisa. You see, in the early hours of January 17th, 2013, in a quiet apartment in Florida, it became this tragic stage for an irreversible loss. Emma Morrison, who was 1 month and 19 days old, was found lifeless, her tiny body cold and stiff, her arms raised unnaturally above her head. What should have been a morning like any other morning turned into a scene of chaos as her mother, Lisa Lamoureaux, screamed her help across the street, her cries echoing through the neighborhood. But by the time ambulance arrived, it was all too late. Emma's brief life had ended under circumstances that remained shrouded in ambiguity. A haunting intersection of neglect, systematic failures, and heartbreaking choices. Yes, DCF were involved, and as usual, they did fuck all. This is not merely a story of a child's untimely death, it's a reminder, as a father myself who has children, it's a reminder of how fragile life can be when entrusted to those who are ill-equipped or unwilling to protect it. Or in other words, these two knuckleheads. You see, as investigators pieced together the events leading up to Emma's passing, they uncovered a web of missed opportunities, conflicting accounts, and red flags that went unheeded. So could this tragedy have been prevented? Let's take a look. So Emma herself was born on November 29th, 2012 at Palms West Hospital in Palm Beach, Florida. She was born healthy and without complications. She was a beacon of hope for her mother Lisa. I say hope because Lisa herself had struggled for years with mental health challenges and substance misuse. Or as I say, she is the first of the aforementioned arse. Now, for the first 2 weeks of Emma's life, Lisa breastfed her diligently, attempting to establish a bond that felt increasingly fragile as external pressures mounted. By mid-December, Lisa transitioned Emma to formula feeding. She started to give her Good Start formula. And despite Lisa's early efforts to be there for her child, signs of instability began to surface almost immediately. Lisa's apartment, though presentable during prior visits from Child Protective Services, revealed cracks beneath its surface. A crib sat near Lisa's bed, yet it would soon become clear that Emma very rarely slept there uninterrupted. Instead, the infant often ended up on the adult bed, surrounded by hazards her mother failed to recognize or address. As for Lisa herself, her life was filled with financial hardships, emotional turmoil, and addiction. You see, she was 33. She lived paycheck to paycheck, relying heavily on friends and neighbors for basic necessities like food and transportation. Her depression, managed through prescribed Zoloft, offered little relief from the chronic anxiety that shadowed her daily existence. Even more troubling was her ongoing battle with crack cocaine, an addiction she had fought for years, achieving periods of sobriety only to relapse repeatedly. Dwayne Morrison, Emma's incarcerated father, added another layer of complexity to the household. His violent tendencies led to multiple arrests, including one shortly after Emma's birth, where he physically assaulted Lisa while she held their daughter. Though Dwayne remained behind bars during much of Emma's short life, his presence loomed large, exacerbating Lisa's fears and leaving her emotionally drained. Dwayne, of course, being the other cheek from the same arse. Now, before Emma turned 1 month old, red flags began to multiply. On December 14th, 2012, an open protective investigation was initiated following allegations of domestic violence between Lisa and Dwayne. Investigators noted that the crib set up by Lisa's bed, they described it as presentable, but then they saw creatures and ants everywhere. Dwayne himself continued visiting despite Lisa's wishes to sever ties, exploiting loopholes in restraining orders due to his homelessness. What a fucking loser. Frustrated and overwhelmed, Lisa confided in investigators that she felt trapped, unable to protect herself or her child fully. Now, before I continue, the sentencing in this case is gonna blow your mind. There were over 11 cases sent to child services when nothing was done. So keep listening, I'll come to that at the end. There were referrals to programs like Triple P Parenting, a comprehensive course designed to equip parents with effective strategies for raising children. They went largely ignored. When offered enrollment, Lisa refused, citing logistical barriers or dismissing the program's relevance. Or, as I say, being a lazy cow. Agencies like Safety Net, tasked with providing counseling and support services, found themselves hampered by incomplete follow-ups. Communication gaps between departments meant that crucial steps outlined in protocols were overlooked, leaving Lisa without the sustained guidance she desperately needed. Now I'm going to go through the day before the death. It was actually January 16th, 2013. That's actually my birthday, the January part, not the 2013 of course. Lisa bundled Emma in warm clothes and boarded a bus bound for Dr. Sahido's office, where Emma was scheduled for a routine pediatric checkup. To the doctor, Lisa presented a facade of competence and stability. She assured them that she had ample family support and financial security, signing documents affirming safe sleep practices without intending to implement them. These assurances masked the harsh realities of their life. Lisa was alone, financially strained, and increasingly reliant on substances to cope with her mounting pressures. During the appointment, Emma appeared healthy, showing no signs of distress or illness. The pediatrician reviewed standard protocols for safe sleeping environments, emphasizing the dangers of co-sleeping and improper bedding arrangements. Lisa nodded along, seemingly attentive, yet failed to disclose critical details about her living situation. After that doctor's appointment, Lisa walked to Tamara Cox's house to collect dinner prepared by her friend. This was a sign of her circumstances. Lisa depended heavily on others for food and emotional support. As dusk fell, she returned home with Emma, unaware that these were to be the final hours of her daughter's life. So moving on into the evening, it began with what seemed like routine activities for Lisa and Emma. After returning home from a pediatric appointment earlier that day, Lisa bathed Emma around 8:30 p.m., carefully dressing her in a pink onesie and fresh diaper. She then prepared a 4-ounce bottle of Good Start formula, feeding Emma at approximately 9 p.m. before placing her in the bassinet next to her bed. According to Lisa, this was standard practice. Emma slept in the bassinet every night, always positioned on her back, as recommended by doctors. Around 9:30 p.m., Andrew Bellamy, a married man who occasionally visited Lisa, arrived at the apartment. He was a driver for South Florida Transportation. Bellamy often stopped by when he had downtime between clients. That night, he parked his car outside and entered Lisa's home. Together, they watched television in the living room while Emma slept nearby in the bassinet. At some point, the pair moved to the bedroom where they engaged in consensual sex. "Lisa, you cheeky little minx." She later admitted to investigators that she experienced her first menstrual cycle since giving birth during this encounter, which left bloody stains on her soiled bedsheets. "I don't know about you, Mr. Bellamy, but I'm not Moses and I do not play with no Red Sea." Around midnight, Lisa claimed she fed Emma another 2-ounce bottle of formula, burped her, and placed her back in the bassinet. She changed Emma's diaper once more, ensuring the baby was comfortable before falling asleep herself. By all accounts, it appeared to be an ordinary night, but beneath the surface, signs of neglect and instability were mounting. As detectives pieced together the events leading up to Emma's death, inconsistencies in Lisa's statements became glaringly apparent. Initially, Lisa told investigators that she placed Emma in the bassinet between 11:30 p.m. and midnight and found her unresponsive the following morning. However, this account clashed with testimony from Tuesday Gilliam. Tuesday was a neighbor who responded to Lisa's frantic cries for help shortly after 10 a.m. According to Gilliam, she walked into Lisa's bedroom to find Emma stiff and cold, not in the bassinet but lying sideways on the bed, face up with her arms raised unnaturally above her head. Gilliam wrapped Emma in a purple blanket and placed her back in the bassinet before leaving the room. Her description, however, contradicted Lisa's insistence that Emma had remained undisturbed in the bassinet throughout the night. Under further questioning, Lisa eventually admitted that she may have moved Emma to the bed upon discovering her unresponsive. She speculated that she might have done so unconsciously in a state of panic, though she could not recall the exact sequence of events. This admission only deepened suspicions about Lisa's reliability as a witness to her own actions. A closer examination of the apartment revealed a chaotic and hazardous environment ill-suited for raising a newborn. But to reiterate, Lisa's initial claim was that she woke up the next morning and the child was unresponsive, and that's it. But as the investigators noted when they looked around the house, two crack pipes they saw, one located under the bathroom sink and another near the front door entrance, scattered amidst clutter and filth. And all the images that you're seeing are directly from the crime scene. Wet spots and bloodstains marred the queen-size bed, evidence of Lisa's poor hygiene and lack of attention to basic housekeeping. The disarray extended beyond mere messiness. It signaled a household teetering on the brink of collapse, or as I call it, being a lazy cow. Adding to these troubling details was the discovery of a green substance in Emma's stomach during the autopsy. While toxicology tests ultimately showed no illegal drugs or toxins in her system, the presence of this unidentified material raised questions about how Emma had been fed. Had Lisa neglected proper preparation techniques, introducing foreign substances into her formula? Or was the green residue unrelated to Emma's diet altogether? These uncertainties underscored the broader issue of inadequate care within the home. Police spoke to neighbors. Their testimonies painted a vivid picture of the chaos unfolding in Lisa's apartment throughout the night. Linda Patina and Oscar Martinez, residents of the adjacent unit, recounted hearing constant crying emanating from Lisa's side of the wall. They described prolonged periods of wailing, interspersed with loud bangs and arguing voices, creating a cacophony that made sleep nearly impossible. Patina specifically mentioned overhearing a heated argument between Lisa and an unidentified male late at night. This argument continued until 1 to 2 a.m. in the morning. The couple exchanged accusations, with the male questioning Lisa's fidelity. Another altercation erupted around 8 a.m., just hours before emergency responders arrived. Throughout these disturbances, Emma's cries pierced the air, a haunting reminder of her unmet needs. So Lisa and this male are having handbags, flapping their gums, arguing, but the child is there, bellowing and crying. And what did they do? They just continued arguing. Two cheeks, one ass. Martinez corroborated Patina's account, adding that he frequently heard fighting and crying whenever he returned home from work. He expressed concern about Lisa's attentiveness as a mother, noting that Emma often cried for extended periods without intervention. These observations highlighted the persistent instability surrounding Emma's final hours, underscoring the tragic consequences of neglect. The cumulative effect of these revelations created a chilling portrait of Emma's last moments. From the conflicting narratives provided by Lisa and Tuesday Gilliam to the environmental hazards littering the apartment, each detail added layers of complexity to an already devastating case. Neighbors' accounts of constant crying and violent arguments underscored the chaotic environment in which Emma spent her brief life. Ultimately, systematic failures, personal struggles, and environmental neglect made this happen. As investigators delved deeper into the circumstances of Emma's death, it became clear that her passing was not an isolated incident. It was the culmination of years of oversight, missed opportunities, and broken promises. Could anyone have intervened in time to save her? Well, this was Lisa's version of events. So at 9:30, she wakes up on her couch, having fallen back asleep after making coffee earlier that morning. She had last checked on Emma around 7 a.m., assuming the baby was still peacefully sleeping in her bassinet. When Lisa finally entered the bedroom, she found Emma lifeless, her tiny body stiff and cold, lying on the bed rather than in the bassinet where Lisa claimed to have placed her the night before. Overcome with panic, Lisa runs outside screaming for help, barefoot and hysterical. And this is where her friend, Tuesday Gilliam, heard Lisa's cries and came to investigate. What she saw inside the apartment left no room for doubt. Emma was unresponsive, her face pale and rigid. Though Tuesday wrapped Emma in a purple blanket and placed her back in the bassinet as instructed by Lisa, it was clear the infant was already dead. Meanwhile, Tamara Cox, one of Lisa's closest friends, received a frantic call from Lisa shortly after. Distraught, Lisa told Tamara that something was terribly wrong with Emma. Tamara rushed over, bringing another friend, Lisa Boatman, with her. It's surprising. It seems like Lisa had such a troubled life, but she certainly had a support system, right? Inside the apartment, Tamara followed instructions from the 911 operator, checking for signs of life. She unbuttoned Emma's sleeper and touched her belly, finding no rise and fall of breath. Her small arm was cold and stiff, confirming what everyone feared. Emma was dead. By the time Palm Beach County Fire Rescue arrived at 10:30 a.m., there was nothing they could do. The scene was chaotic. Lisa sobbing uncontrollably, neighbors whispering about the constant crying they heard throughout the night, and the eerie silence of an infant who should have been alive. As deputies secured the area, the question was, how did this happen? So, on January the 18th, Dr. Gertrude Joost, Associate Medical Examiner for Palm Beach County, conducted an autopsy to determine the cause of Emma's death. The findings painted a grim picture of neglect and oversight. There were no signs of trauma or congenital anomalies, ruling out physical abuse or pre-existing medical conditions. Toxicology tests returned negative for illegal substances, alcohol, or toxins in Emma's system. However, liver mortis patterns revealed critical details. Bands of pallor on Emma's face indicated she had likely slept face down, her nose pressed against bedding, leading to probable positional asphyxia, a form of suffocation caused by obstructed airflow. In other words, maybe someone suffocated her to death. The doctor concluded Emma's death was, however, accidental, emphasizing the dangers of improper sleep environments. Yet lingering doubts persisted. Could co-sleeping have played a role? Was Emma moved to the bed accidentally or deliberately before being discovered? The wet spots and bloodstains on Lisa's sheets, coupled with the green substance found in Emma's stomach, raised additional concerns. While the green material was ultimately deemed unrelated to toxic ingestion, its presence showed the disgusting environment in which Emma lived in. Moreover, the conflicting accounts from witnesses cast suspicion on Lisa's reliability. Neighbors, of course, were talking about arguing voices, loud bangs throughout the night. She had one man come in, he leaves, and then Dwayne comes in and is like, "What the hell are you doing?" These disturbances suggested a household ill-suited for caring for a vulnerable newborn. Had Lisa's erratic behavior and substance misuse impaired her ability to provide basic care? Detective Laurie Gunn took the lead in investigating Emma's death. She determined to uncover the truth. Her pursuit began with interviews of key figures, Lisa, neighbors, Andrew Bellamy, each providing pieces of the puzzle that refused to fit together. Lisa's shifting statements raised red flags almost immediately. Initially, she insisted Emma had been placed in the bassinet and remained undisturbed till the morning. However, when they questioned her further, she admitted she might have moved Emma to the bed upon discovering her unresponsive. This admission directly contradicted Tuesday's testimony, Tuesday Gilliam that is, who found Emma stiff and cold on the bed, not in the bassinet. Further inconsistencies emerged when Detective Gunn spoke with Andrew Bellamy, the married man who visited Lisa. According to Bellamy, he watched TV with Lisa while Emma slept nearby in her bassinet. He then later, during which Lisa experienced her first menstrual cycle since giving birth. I've never heard that before. That was actually in the police report. Are you saying she got her period during sex? Or as I call it, Moses in the Red Sea? What? Bellamy denied any arguments or unusual behavior, leaving investigators to wonder whether his account aligned too neatly with Lisa's desire to protect him. His involvement, though seemingly benign, highlighted the instability of Lisa's living situation and her reliance on others for financial support. Tamara Cox and Lisa Boatman provided additional insights into Lisa's character. Both described her as attentive and caring during their interactions with Emma, but they did note some inconsistencies. For example, Lisa misled her pediatrician just one day prior to Emma's death, claiming financial stability and ample family support, despite neither of them being true. These fabrications suggested a pattern of deception aimed at masking deeper issues, telling the doctor, "Oh, I'm good, the baby's fine, I'm not on drugs, I have money, I have a job, etc., etc." And as Detective Gunn pieced together the timeline, it became increasingly clear that Lisa's erratic lifestyle, marked by depression, anxiety, and substance misuse, has created a precarious environment for Emma. And with periods of being sober and engagement with local service providers, Lisa's relapses and refusal to fully participate in programs like Triple P signaled ongoing struggles. Her decision to use crack cocaine just 2 weeks before Emma's death further underscored her inability to prioritize her daughter's safety. Finally, there were missed opportunities for intervention breakdowns between multiple child agencies. Prior investigations, there were numerous red flags, allegations of domestic abuse, substance misuse, and inadequate supervision. Check this out. Between 1999 and 2012, 11 separate reports were filed involving Lisa, 4 of which resulted in verified findings for family violence. Verified, yet these warnings were largely ignored. For example, in December 2012, an open protective investigation was initiated following allegations of domestic violence between Lisa and Dwayne Morrison. Though investigators noted the presence of a crib and described the home as presentable, deeper issues, including Lisa's reluctance to obtain a restraining order against Dwayne, were not addressed. Referrals to services like Healthy Mothers were incomplete or declined altogether. Family Preservation Services and Safety Net, tasked with providing counseling and support, lacked follow-up documentation to verify engagement. Communication gaps between departments meant the crucial steps outlined in protocols were overlooked, leaving Lisa without the sustained guidance she desperately needed. And in response to all of this, ChildNet, the DCF, and all the care agencies I mentioned said, yes, we're going to implement better measures, etc., etc., etc. And of course, they do fuck all. Because of course, these reforms represent progress, but they cannot undo what happened to Emma. So, to conclude on this case, by April 1st, 2013, Detective Laurie Gunn had meticulously gathered all available evidence, interviews, medical records, toxicology reports, and crime scene findings to piece together the final chapter of Emma's life. Emma's death was caused by probable positional asphyxia, a form of suffocation, likely resulting from sleeping face down. Liver mortis patterns supported this conclusion, and toxicology tests returned negative for drugs in her system. And Detective Gunn faced a difficult decision. While there were overwhelming signs of neglect, no concrete evidence pointed to foul play or malicious intent. Without this proof of criminal wrongdoing, filing charges against Lisa was impossible. So then Laurie Gunn officially closed the investigation, classifying Emma's death as accidental. The lack of criminal charges is leaving you with questions. It seems Emma was put on the bed, Lisa accidentally slept on top of Emma, and Emma died. Or Emma was in the bassinet, was sleeping with her stomach down, her face down, and she suffocated. How is that even fair? Where's the justice? You've all seen so many true crime stories, and this accident can happen. But when you look at the entire context, drugs, multiple men, deceit, lies, relying on others for food, you're so broke, you're so lazy, you're so in your own cuckoo world, you need others to cook for you, and you're 33. How are you doing no jail time? Anyway, comment. Tell me what you think.